Thank you. Finally, so one of these guys
Game on
is,
Saturday? Yeah, how about that?
I know, there's people lining up for the at-large position.
Me either. And it sure seemed like they tried
Who
everything
else
they could
is
do to
here?
give it away.
I know Alex is back there.
Works out now.
Brad.
I believe they came out on top in that game.
That's what we were just saying. I mean, like, the way they played at the end of regulation, like, I was,
I don't know if any of the
what are you doing?
positions are contested.
I mean, the shot Ryan Langford took at the end, they just didn't have any.
If you please join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up on the agenda, approval of the memoranda for the January 22nd regular meeting. To entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
First by Councilor Hopper, second by, Suarez,
That's right,
second
we look
by Councilor Plunkett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Departmental monthly reports, those were just issued today. Does anybody have any questions on those yet? If not, I'm sure they'd entertain questions at the next meeting as well. Any requests to speak?
No, there are no requests to speak.
All right. Old business, there is none. New business, item A, we have a consideration of a confirmatory resolution declaring an economic development revitalization area and approving applications for real property tax abatement for the Becknell project. This is resolution 2019-4. Mr. Price, do you have anything to add? Please.
Thank you, members of the council. My name is Matt Price, for the record. I'm here tonight on the first two items under new business, including the one just introduced, the confirmatory resolution for Becknell. This was a project that you all approved the rezoning for late last year. It's a 3 to 4 building project on State Road 267. It's approximately $55 million in new investment for the community. Provides a fantastic opportunity to add to our tax base in an area that requires very few or limited municipal services from the town of Zionsville. So it's kind of a win-win for our community. I have representatives from Becknell here this evening, Pete Anderson, who's in the audience, and Pete and I are available to answer any questions that you may have. And this is the kind of the second step in the process for the tax abatement. The first step was the declaratory resolution, which was adopted at your last regularly scheduled meeting. So we're available to any questions that you may have, and appreciate your consideration this evening.
So estimated value is 55 million,
Yes, sir.
and that's on business properties at 3%, Mac?
It is. So to give you an idea of the order of magnitude, over the next 10 years, we would expect total taxes to be paid with the abatement. So if the abatement were put in place, a little over 3.9 million in new taxes. Over that same period of time, based on the current AVs that are out there with no improvements, the total over that same 10-year period would be 52,000. So it represents a substantial additional revenue stream.
It's farmland now.
It's farmland now, correct?
Any other questions for Mr. Price?
Is the abatement a deal breaker?
It is. It is. It's necessary. It's a good question, but it's necessary to put the project on a level playing field with surrounding properties, really in our area as well as across our state, as far as putting it on a competitive level playing field.
Do we have a timeline for construction?
Yes. They're looking to break ground this spring. Is that correct, Pete? Yes. So it's a go green
So
light
year one
project.
is this year?
What's
This year-
that?
I'm sorry, year one would be this year?
It's,
The 10-year
Yeah,
schedule?
it's timed up to when the improvements are actually built.
Okay,
There's some subsequent filings we'll need to make to actually put the abatements into place so that they actually apply to the improvements that are built. But, so the 10-year is just given as a reference point to show what the abatements would be on the full as-built completed project.
so the abatement would kick in when the project improvements are completed,
Correct,
not when they're started?
correct.
Got it, okay, that's helpful.
At their fully assessed level. That's right.
Correct. That makes more sense.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
What's the estimated completion? Says 3 buildings?
It'll be over multiple phases. For Becknell's project, they're contemplating 3 to 4 buildings, depending on user demand. So that may be over 2 to 3 years.
So will,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so will there be, like I said, they build a building and it's finished in 19, then will they pay the full tax on that?
Well, with the way the abatement schedule works is, once the project is fully completed and assessed, then the abatements will trigger in, and then it's a declining, the abatement declines over
Right.
that 10-year period of time.
That's correct, okay.
So once one building's up, then it's assessed.
Correct.
And they build building, say, 2 and
Same
20,
with
and
it.
then
Yeah, same with it. Each one works in the same
will be, okay,
fashion.
not till the whole project's done.
Correct.
I'm with you now.
All right, well, this does require a public hearing. With proof of publication, I will open the public hearing for anyone from the public that would like to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any further discussion, or I would entertain a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
A motion by Counselor Suarez, a second by Counselor Hopper. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, don't go anywhere, Mr. Price.
I will stay put.
Next up, we have consideration for a confirmatory resolution declaring an economic development revitalization area and approving applications for real property tax abatement on the Van Trust project. This is Resolution 2019-05. Mr. Price?
Thank you once again, Matt Price for the record, on behalf of Van Trust Real Estate LLC. This is another project that was on a similar timeline that you approved the rezoning for back in December. Bill Baumgartner is here with me this evening from Van Trust. This project's comprised of 2 buildings with an approximate new investment of $40 million. And again, like as with the last project, it's a sizable amount of new revenue in comparison to what the property pays today, a little over $2.8 million over the next 10 years, or over the 10-year period of the abatement, as compared to the existing taxes over that same period of time, which would be $21,000. So it's a substantial leap. You may also remember this was the project where Van Trust made some very substantial commitments to arrive at a mutually satisfactory resolution with the adjacent property owners. So there's a commitment here to make some substantial infrastructure improvements relating to those property owners. So as with the Becknell project, we feel like this is another example of a good win-win-win for the adjacent property owners, for the town, and a good project for the developer as well.
Questions?
I comment that I think it's just very exemplary that everybody involved came to the resolution that would benefit the community as well as the town, as well as the developer. So that's just a kudos, because a lot of times that doesn't quite work that well, so.
Appreciate that very much.
All right.
And again, that's something that's, without the abatement, it's not going to go forward.
It is. It's a but-for element of the project. But for the abatement, the project will not go forward. Yes.
Any other questions? All right, well, this requires a public hearing as well. So with proof of publication, I will open the public hearing for anyone from the public that would like to speak on the matter. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. So any further discussion, or I would entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a first by Counselor Hopper, second by Counselor Plunkett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Mr.
much. We
Price.
appreciate your consideration.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have consideration of an ordinance concerning the additions and improvements to the sewage works of the town of Zionsville and the issuance of a revenue bonds to provide the cost thereof. Mr. Mitro?
Thank you. I'll lead off. You will be hearing briefly from Barry Cook, our wastewater superintendent, on the actual projects themselves. Bruce Donaldson with Barnes and Thornburg will also give you some idea of the procedural aspects of this. And then our good folk from Crow will be here to talk about any of the financing and provide any answers to this. As you're aware, this is the second of three times we will be coming to you with major projects and bond requests. The last was recently with the major road projects carried forward by the Street and Stormwater Department, those being Zionsville Road and the North-South Connector. These are two projects which Barry will explain that have been long in coming and are part of the master plan. This was anticipated for quite some time. Again, this is an introduction to this first reading. You will have a final reading of it at your next meeting on February 22nd. And with that, I'll let Barry get up and briefly describe the actual projects themselves.
Well, thank you, Ed, for that nice introduction. Good evening, Town Council, Vice President, and fellow councilors. I'm here tonight to describe the wastewater sewer main projects to be completed in 2019 and 2020. Before I get into those projects, I want to just mention a few things of importance. Number one, these are the first sewer main projects that we've had since Zionsville Road, and that was done in 2007 with the lift station and the force main and the gravity main there. Number two, we are not raising rates. Because of these planned projects, we have some bonding capacity available, and we're going to use reserves for the rest of the projects. So no need or worry of rates increasing because of this. Number three, these are all going to have contractors who will be reimbursing the town for their portion of the capacity that's being used. So we will be getting money back for this. We're just putting in the sewers up front. So that's also a positive for the town. Now for the three main projects, most proud of Oak Street, getting sewer down Oak Street. This is an area that has been needed sanitary sewer for years. With the dam and the low-lying areas all through there, the septic tanks are failing, and I get calls almost weekly about homeowners wanting to connect. So I think this is going to be huge for the town, finally to get sewer down Oak Street. The project consists of a gravity sewer located on the north side of Oak Street from west of Cooper Road to west of Irish Hill and Irishman's Run Creek. And that's where the lift station will be located. The force main from the lift station will discharge into an existing sewer in Iron Gate, and the cost estimate for this project is $2.2 million. And we expect some development to open up on Oak Street. There's a couple properties that have been for sale for years. So I think this is going to help move those along as well. And then I have, Ed had mentioned two projects. We actually have sort of three that are ongoing. Phase one, the gravity sewer on County Road 875 East. And I gave you all copies, or Ed did, of the map so you can kind of follow along, because I'm going to start reading addresses and you're probably going to get lost. But it consists of a gravity sewer on the west side of 875 East and begins south of the proposed roundabout at 500 South and 875 East and travels north to the existing sewer that is west of Cobblestone Drive. So this section of sewer will be reimbursed back to the utility from the developer of 8602 East, 500 South. And the cost estimate is around $310,000. Phase 2 of that gravity sewer on County Road 875 East, the lift station and force main included. This will consist of a gravity sewer from 550 South to 575 South that will connect the West Regional Lift Station that will be located on the southern property at 8602 East, 500 South. The force main will follow the roadway and discharge into the existing Irishman's Run lift station on 600 South. The cost estimate for this project is $1.4 million. This will take care of the west side of Zionsville. I think we're gonna be able to serve a lot of that empty farmland that's out there for the future. And then lastly, the North Regional Sewer is a 15-inch gravity main sewer, lift station and force main that will be connected to the main lift station on 4th Street. That force main is going to be a couple miles long, so it'll be the largest lift station. It won't be the largest lift station we have, it'll be the longest force main that we have. This project is the largest of all of them and consists of a gravity sewer on the Holiday property, traveling south to the Northeast Regional Lift Station near the southern portion of the Holiday property. The force main will discharge into the existing Willow Road sewer temporarily for phase 1 of the current development, but will parallel Willow Road sewer down all the way to the main lift station. The cost estimate is $4.2 million, and we'll be looking for a large contribution from the developer to help pay for the sewer. This sewer should inevitably cover the northeastern sewer territory for the town, which for me, the sewer territory is 300 South to the north and then 421 Michigan Road. So we should be able to serve that entire area when we're all said and done. I think it's going to open up some development properties up there as well, especially if the bypass goes in. That should really, build up that area, I think. Are there any questions from what I had to say?
So when we put those in, we're saying there's developers who are gonna develop in those areas. They're charged to pay to be able to use it and hook on and run through their
They're gonna have
development?
a percentage of the capacity that they use. They're gonna pay a percentage of that to connect.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
I have Bruce from Barnes and Thornburg's here to answer any bonding process questions. And then Mark Adam is here from Crow to answer any financial questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Bruce Donaldson with Barnes and Thornburg. We've been assisting the town as bond counsel on this. I'll say a few words about the ordinance that's being introduced to you tonight and a little bit about the process and then turn it over to Mark from Crow. This is a bond ordinance that's probably somewhat similar to what you've seen in the past for these types of deals. These bonds would be payable solely from the net revenues from operating this utility. There would not be any general town revenues or property taxes or anything like that pledged. It's a limited recourse against the net revenues of the sewage works utility. The pledge of those revenues would be on a parity with 3 outstanding bonds that you currently have in the market. There were 2 that were issued back in 2010. One went to the state revolving loan fund, another out into the market, and then there was a small one in 2015. And these guys can describe that a little bit in their presentation. So this would be the 4th bond that's outstanding that will all be on a parity with each other in terms of the lien on those net revenues. Max principal amount of $6.5 million. As Barry said, the remaining costs would come from reserves, funds on hand of these projects. Maximum term of 20 years. The projects are described in the exhibit to the ordinance that Barry did a more complete job of describing. And as Ed said, this would come back to you for final consideration at your February 22 meeting. If you approve the ordinance at that point, we are required to competitively bid the sale of these bonds. So we would have to advertise in the papers take bids from potential buyers of the bonds to get the best rate for the town, and then go ahead and sell and close. That would probably happen, the bond sale maybe late March, early April, with a mid-April closing if we stay on the current timeline. And I think we would probably be seeking a rating from Standard & Poor's. So that's kind of the ordinance and the process. Happy to answer any questions about that, or I can turn it over to Mark for the little bit more of the financial analysis.
Any questions?
Where are we currently in our bonding capacity as a municipality? I know we have a certain threshold.
Yes, so there's a constitutional debt limit on your general obligation bonds or income tax bonds. The utility revenue bonds do not count against that.
Okay.
Because they're payable solely from the revenues of this system, and there's an exception for that. It's sort of its own enterprise, if you will, so it doesn't count against any bonding capacity of the town.
Thank you.
Do we currently have any bonds out in our sewers?
Yes, there are 2 bonds, and these guys will show it in their thing. There were 2 that were issued in 2010,
Yep.
and a small one in 2015. So this would
Yeah.
be the 4th one.
I thought there was some history there, and there's some, as we look at building up the sewer, I'm wondering about the capacity projection, and I'm, digesting some of this, but as we look at the capacity that we're building out here, are we projecting within the master plan the growth expectations within that?
These projects are following the master plan
Right.
and are taking the density so that capacity plant-wise is available. And, it is looking at the density and typology of land uses that would tie into this. So yes, it's all tied together.
Because the lift stations, I know, were a big issue back when we were first discussing this.
Right, and they're going to be sized accordingly to take that additional growth per the comp plan.
Right, thank you.
Jennifer Wilson, not Mark.
Yes, hi, I'm Jennifer Wilson with Crow, and I'm a managing director there. My specialty is in utility rates, and so that's why I'm speaking to you about your utility at this point. So within your packet, you had a consultant's report that showed the receipts and disbursements of the sewage works and your fund balances, and also kind of delineated out your outstanding bonds. So that is in there. You have, as Bruce said, you have 2 2010 bonds outstanding and a 2015 bond outstanding. Now, we also have the sources and uses and what our proposed amortization schedule also within that packet. What we're doing is we're estimating that your coverage after the sale of the bonds, your coverage would be about 150%. The minimum amount that you have to have in order for us to issue bonds on parity with your outstanding bonds is 125%. So that 150, that excess is the amount that's available for future bonding capacity and also for ongoing extensions and replacements. So all that information was in the consultant's report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions specifically to that report if you have any.
In the amortization schedule, there is a total from both the bonds that is, I'm trying to understand this. We're going to be able to bond above this amount because of the 150%. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in the future, you still would have some additional capacity to
Above
bond, and
beyond
we
this,
haven't taken.
Including the issuance of the current bonds that we're
Correct,
proposing.
correct.
Okay. Because we're looking at raising 6,000, how much are we trying to raise total through the sale of the new bonds?
These current bonds, we are issuing the final issuance is probably going to be around 6.2 million, but the bond ordinance allows up to 6.5. That allows for any
gives you the
changes in the project size between now and when we sell.
Okay. And that is covered by the revenue of the sewage system?
Yeah, just revenue of the sewage works.
So it's not going to affect the operations of the town budget?
Correct, it does not affect that, yeah. So when we look at this, we always say the first funds that come off first are the operating expenses.
Right.
And then you look at how much revenue is available, and then we determine how much bonding you could do at that point.
Is this going to require us to raise sewer rates in any way? Or is
No.
it completely covered within the projected growth?
It's completely covered with your current
I was trying to follow all
revenues.
these numbers, and I need somebody walking me through them sometimes.
It's currently covered with your current revenues. We haven't shown any estimates for additional households coming on, which will happen due to these projects. So your coverage will only improve over time and thus have more availability for bonding in the future because of that.
Right.
Other questions?
Very quick question. Was there a reason that's not extended up Oak Street all the way to 800 South? Is like Eaglewood going to be able to hook on that Eaglewood addition there?
We are trying to figure out ways to be able to get all the communities on
Okay.
that are around there. So we'll look more in depth on that once the sewer main gets in. That's the first step, and then we'll look into how to get every community on that's in that area.
Because west of there, Whitestown takes care of everything, right? Because we're in Stonegate, and that's where Whitestown. But then like Russell Lake, both sides of the road are building. So I know that's a big concern for them. Okay.
Any other
Do-
questions?
Yeah, I mean, to that point, it looks like where you stop about 5 houses from
Hey, Barry.
850, or from 800. Like I said,
Gravity, that's what we consider.
Hey, Barry.
okay.
Oh, I see.
Barry,
When that,
can you come up to the,
that's where that hill starts
Yeah.
to go back down, they can't.
Sorry about that.
no.
Yeah, with, that's as far as we can get with gravity. The ground drops off considerably, and so we'll have to have grinder pumps to serve that other area, so. You can pick them up. Absolutely, yeah,
You can.
yes.
Then will all the new homes, will there be a charge for them to hook on?
Yes.
And that's part of what's going to help pay for it, along with their monthly fees and stuff.
Any big developments that are gonna go in, are gonna pay a little more for the development, but individual homes will be the same connection fee.
So new development but for like Russell Lake and those places that have been there for a long time, that's just a per house hookup.
Yes, yep.
'Cause that was my only question. Same thing when you said gravity, I'm like, oh yeah, that hill turns right there. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
We can still get sewer there, it's just it's gonna be with a grinder pump, a pump that's gonna pump to the
Right.
gravity section. So it'll be some kind of a shared, grinder system for all of those homes in that area.
Okay,
And we've done it in Zionsville, so we're very familiar with how to do that.
yeah, that's pretty common, isn't it?
Yep. We have to with all the elevations and different elevations in Zionsville,
Yep.
unfortunately. That's what makes it beautiful, though.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, then I'm going to make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-01 on first reading.
Second.
Got a second from Counselor Suarez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda, consideration of an ordinance vacating portions of public right-of-way within Zionsville's corporate boundaries. This is a petition from Brian and Sherry Bobbitt. Are either, Mr. Bobbitt, if you could come up to the podium, please, and kind of give us a brief summary of what you're asking here.
Thank you, Town Council. My name is Brian Bobbitt, and my wife and I just purchased the property there on Poplar, and found out after we purchased that there is an alley there. If you look at the property, you'd have no idea that it exists there.
So it's a nice alley.
It's very nice, grass on top of it, and you wouldn't know there's an alley there. And so we have asked the city to allow us to pay taxes on that and have that as part of our property.
That's an excellent sales proposal. Questions from the council?
I remember when we took over that alley. Didn't we do that
No, we took over the alley to the north.
to the north? Okay.
This is the same alley.
The same, okay.
Yeah, that was.
I was trying to envision, I'm like, wait, didn't we just do this? Okay.
Yeah, my neighbor's house is on it.
Yeah.
So you're in the corner of 4th and Poplar?
We're in between Fourth and Fifth.
In the middle
They'd be
there.
like halfway. I don't know why there would be an alley there. At some point, somebody wanted one there, but I don't know why it would be
Sure,
of
at
use
some
right
point in
now.
time, it made sense. Yeah.
I
Well,
personally am very much in favor of somebody wanting to pay taxes on that property, so
All right.
we appreciate the willingness to do that.
Other questions?
I move approval.
Second.
Well, not quite yet.
Oh.
Public hearing.
Yeah,
it's
this,
a public
this
hearing,
does
that's right.
require a public hearing. I do have proof of publication, so I'll open up to the public if anybody would like to speak. Seeing,
I'll say that his next door neighbor has no problem with him vacating the alley.
Well, there you go.
I think the property value just went down. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Can you control here? I mean,
This
we're
is-
not going to let
No,
you take
no,
charge again.
Garrett's got to come back. All right, now I'll entertain a motion if somebody's got one.
I got one, me.
All right,
Me. Okay, good. I move approval.
All right, so we've got a motion by Counselor Suarez for approval, second by Counselor Spies. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Happy paying taxes.
Thank you.
Are you adopting the ordinance, or are you?
No, I'm sorry, it's first reading, my mistake. So we've got second reading will be at the next council meeting.
Unless we can vacate it. Can we go?
If you want to adopt the ordinance tonight, you can.
You can suspend the rules.
You can suspend the rules with unanimous approval, and then if you all vote again as well, you can adopt it tonight.
However, we can't do that because we don't we need everybody present to do that?
No.
I think it's just unanimous of those
Got it.
present.
Okay.
I'm not, anybody?
Well, it's
I
a
move
three-step
to vacate
process.
the-
You have to.
Well, I know, but I'm saying I'm okay with
The regular-
letting it play its
Yeah,
way.
as we,
I would agree.
one of the purposes of having these every other week, the meeting.
Yeah,
public
so this was
meetings
the-
was so we could eliminate using that.
That's right.
It's only on an
So we-
as-needed basis, so I prefer to
Yeah.
agree with. Vice
So we've
President.
introduced on the first reading, and
Yeah.
at the next council meeting, we will take a second vote on it.
You have to wait 2 weeks.
All right.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Government efficiency.
Yeah, really. Moving on to other matters. Are there any other matters? None. Next up, approval of claims.
Move to approve.
Got a first by Counselor
Second.
Spies, second by Counselor Plunkett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a first by Counselor Hopper, second by Counselor Spies. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Meeting's adjourned.
We're out of here.
Next meeting is Tuesday, February 19th at 7:30 a.m.